Well, he knew that Mommy was a journalist, and he does love Mommy, so he thought he would try his hand at it, and what's interesting is, as you and your many listeners know, the flat face of the pug makes it easier than a snouted dog for a dog to say, get up on the MacBook and actually peck out an entire novel. And, I didn't write it, of course, Petey did, as you can see on the
Yes.
books, by Petey the Pug with help from Mommy Marilee. So I might have edited a little, but he's a genius dog, as all pugs are.
Hello, humans and puggies. Welcome to the Pug Life Show, brought to you by Pug Parties, because your pug deserves to be the best dressed at the party. And you can check out their outfits at pugparties.com. I'm your host, Donna, and with me are my puggy co-hosts, Rosie and Kenji. There is a saying that goes, everyone has a book inside of them, and who knew that included pugs? Now, it's not often I get to meet a multi-talented pug such as PD the Pug, Pug-author and all-round cute snaggle-toothed boy pug. But thankfully, he agreed to come on the show to not only talk about himself and his pawsomeness, or should I say have his Pug-mom Marilee talk about his pawsomeness, but to also talk about his books, the fourth having been released this year, and my personal favourite, A Star is Born, PD the Pug on the silver screen. But before we zoom in and get to know the pug author himself, I want to remind you to subscribe to our newsletter in the show notes so you get advance notice of our next episode and much, much more. Hello, Marilee and Petey the Pug. How are you this morning/evening, noting that you're in the US?
We are doing wonderful. Our first interview, I guess they say across the pond when it's England, but way across the pond,
Way,
if
way.
it's Australia.
Well,
Yes.
and down under, because you're in
Yes.
DC, so you are well
Yes.
and truly the
Yes.
the other end of town.
Yes.
So it's great to have you on the show, both of you. So this conversation for me is like a twofer. First we get to meet PD, and then we get to talk about what the hell PD's been up to over the last 6 years, which is writing books. He's a pug author.
He is. Or as we say, Pug-Pawrent.
Parthor, yes, poor Thor. Poor Thor. It's amazing. So we will get into all four books. I have speedily read them over the last couple of weeks, which has been absolutely fantastic. So there's nothing like a good book to read before you go to bed. So that's your first ringing endorsement. Definitely was a great read. I enjoyed all four, and I'll let everyone know which one was my favourite as we get along. But I suppose we'll do the get to know PD first. And so first things first, what inspired you to become a pug-parent?
We had pugs growing up. I had and they were black
Lucky
pugs,
girl.
so I know, and I'm in love with every color of fawn, brindle white and fawn, and I am biased toward black. We had 2 blacks
Yep.
growing up, Pepper and Snoopy, and I don't know if you want me to tell the story of Pepper and Snoopy's names, but
You
I'll just
can.
say it. Well, I was a little girl when we had Pepper, and Pepper was the mom, and we didn't have a whole lot growing up, and my mother had passed, and we had Pepper the pug, and my dad took her to a breeder, she got pregnant, and my father was just like, "Oh, here we go, we're gonna have a huge litter, and I'm gonna make money, we're gonna sell," and he said to my brother and me, he said, "Marilyn, you can keep 1 dog," and I said, "1 puppy," and I said, "Okay." And that night, we're waiting and waiting and waiting, and Pepper finally has a baby, and then all night, we're staring, and her foot kept moving like she was going to have another one. Nothing, nothing, any hours go by, and we have 1 dog, so we kept that dog, and my dad
Perfectly
said
for you.
yes, thankfully, I was very happy, and I said, "Dad, you gotta, good Christian people, keep your word." And I gotta keep the dog, and he said, "Marilee, what do you wanna name the puppy?" And I was little, and the mom was Pepper, and I said, "Salt?" And he said, "Honey, the dog is black." And I said and I didn't know any other dog names, and I said, "Snoopy?" And he goes, "Snoopy? It's a girl." And I said, "Snoopy." So we had Pepper and Snoopy, And then my whole life growing up, I talked about it in high school, I talked about it in college, I'm going to get a black pug, and I think, golly, throughout my 20s, 30, and I was just, "I'm gonna get a dog," and finally, 6 years ago, I said, "It's time," and
Yep.
went to a breeder, found Petey, fell in love, and that's that, and he will be 6 years old in September, so that's
Oh,
what.
I'm a September
In my
baby.
mind,
I knew that there
I
was
was always a pug-parent, but I waited a long time for the reality.
well, now that I know PD is a September baby like me, he's increased in his,
September
auspiciousness.
10th.
So oh my god,
Is it yours?
that is mine too. That is incredible.
That's your birthday?
That is my birthday.
Oh
Nobody
my
sent me
goodness.
presents or anything else happened. Yes.
Petey, you and your Aunt Donna have the same birthday.
That is incredible. Well, he's now top of the list behind Rosie and Kenji as the best pug I know.
I have to agree, although I'll put him in a different rank, but I'll let you say that. Yes, so we'll have to fly the 3 of you out here. I guess your husband
Yes.
can come too for your
Yeah.
birthday. We'll have a
Yeah.
big pug
Yes. Uh,
party.
well, it's Donna and PD birthday party. Yes,
Yes,
puppy.
yes, yes.
So as you can see, mine have now decided that they actually like that idea by the sounds of it. Listening to them woof underneath the desk, the rat bags. But it's quite funny. Our second episode of this season is espresso and martini, two black pugs as well. So you could have had salt and pepper. Who would have known? And who would have known that? I think you can now get charcoal salt. So you would have been before your time when it comes to. But Snoopy's fine. Snoopy was cool. That's who cares? It's a gender neutral name. It's fine.
Yes, exactly.
So you bought PD. So what was it about PD out of the entire litter? Was it his snaggle-tooth
Well,
that
before
sold
I
you?
I went to Howling Hills when I was looking for a breeder, and I really liked them the most, and then I wanted a male, I don't know why, I just always wanted a male black pug, and I went through she had about, I think, 6 moms, some were white, so I didn't want that, but there were a few litters coming due, and then when that litter was due, there was, I think, 4 boys in it, maybe 6,
Wow.
and even Petey's picture on there, it's just I'm sure your audience knows too, when you find your pug, you know that's your baby,
Love at first
and
sight.
fell in love with all the pictures. Then the breeder was a couple of hours. We're in the Washington, DC suburb of
Mm.
Arlington, and it was out in what we call the sticks, out way out in a little place. It's called Howling Hills Kennel in Caitlet, Virginia, and we drove out and got to hold him a little bit. He was a little baby, so not much. I think they barely let you touch them because he's so little. And so that was it. And 6 weeks later, drove out, brought him home. I didn't I hope this is okay to say, I didn't have a crate. I didn't know yet. I was getting him.
Yeah.
I had it, I had bought most of the stuff at home, and it was time to get him. And I brought this little box that was open, no top, and I put pillows in it, real soft little pillows. And you read the first book. I came home in a box. You really did. The first book, Get Me Out of Here, Petey's Reflections. How he thought he was Chinese royalty, and yet he's coming
Mhm.
home in a Suburban in a box to a
How dare
townhouse.
you?
Just
How
not
dare you?
so.
No, it's funny though when you get your first pug, you go and get all of the I suppose I wouldn't even say the natural things. Like the things that come to mind initially is got to have a collar. Anything that you need to have legally to
Yeah.
keep them alive, and then you go and get them and you go, "Oh my," like I was the same when I went to pick up Lewis. I was living in Cairns. He was in Townsville, which is a 4-hour drive, and it's like old highway. And I was quite lucky. The breeder who was looking after him for me because he'd been rescued, the vet had rescued him, had agreed. She had a dog show in Tully, which was kind of halfway. And she said, "Come to Tully," which basically meant I didn't have to do an 8-hour round drive to go and
Yeah.
pick him up. And so I get there and sort of they open up the back of the car and he's in this great crate because obviously she had many pugs. And then same thing again, it dawned on me, oh my God, like he's
Oh my
gonna sit
goodness,
on
dog
he's
mode.
gonna sit on the front seat of my car for the next 2 hours as I drive him back to Cairns. He had a nice blankie.
Yeah.
So, but I did think to myself at the time, like, oh my God, if I accidentally have a car accident, although I have airbags, he will get launched. So here I am trying to like with his, and he didn't have a harness because I didn't, back in those days, I didn't understand the importance of harnesses with pugs. So he only had a collar and his leash was connected to his collar. And then I tried to sort of like tie his leash off around the back of the chair as my pseudo, this will keep you safe. Break your neck, obviously, if I have a car wreck or someone hits me. But yeah, it wasn't until I got home that I went, "Oh my God, I need to be a much more responsible pug owner than
Well,
this."
and not only that, when PD, he's this, little 8-week-old
Mm.
little baby, and I got him home, and while I've been talking about a dog for, ever, years, 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 this is my first dog, like, it's and you think, it's not gonna be harder than,
I remember what it was
like
like.
when you're kids or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I remember sleeping, we have like a four-story townhouse, and I remember sleeping down in the main level, we have a den downstairs, and we were on the main level, and because I didn't really, you're told, but I didn't really get that every hour he has to go out, he has to
Yeah.
pee, and stuff like that, and how nippy they are when they're playing with you and how
Yeah, like
your arms look like,
razor.
you're an abuse victim. I said to my guy, I said, "Someone's getting arrested here, my arms." And so what's funny is now he's 6, and I've had several friends say, "Do you wanna get him a little brother?" And sometimes I think about it, and then I think, you kind of get amnesia. You forget about the teething and the nipping and the every hour, no sleep,
Yeah.
but yeah. It's like
Oh,
having a kid who can't
absolutely.
tell you what's wrong, right.
No, I agree, like, 'cause I got Lewis when he was 7, so he was already a senior pug, and he was quite zen. And then, as I was saying before we actually hit record, only meant to like, the vets were said, "Yeah, life expectancy a couple of years after everything he's been through." Lasted for 7 years. So, and at that point in time, in that 7 years, I was in the Navy the entire time. I had gotten divorced and then been at sea, been to war, done a few other things, met my now current partner. And so it was like me and Fat Dog against the world. That was us. And then Andrew come on the picture. There were a few alpha male wars. Andrew thought he was in charge. Fat Dog thought he was in charge. I looked at both of them and said, "Get over it. Fat Dog's in charge." He's been around. And like literally Andrew said to me once, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on a podcast before. Andrew come out and said, he looked at me and I'm like, yeah, it's like, what are you talking about? And he said, no, he gave me that look. And I went, well, noting that I didn't see the look, can you explain it to me? And he said, the look of, I've been around longer than you.
This is
Like,
my house,
this
dude.
is my house. And I've got your number, mate. Like, she's gonna choose me over you. Just get over it.
I don't know what it is about, I'm sure it's all dogs, but definitely you with your pugs and your many listeners will certainly, I'll bet, all nod their heads. I find with Petey that certain people, my thing about Petey's personality, he's like a bubbly, happy dog.
Yeah.
When we're out walking, he never attacks, he never growls, he's just a happy, friendly, and too friendly to a fault.
Yeah.
When we go to the dog park, he also thinks he's a big dog, which,
Mhm.
Lord save us.
Molten Parvo.
Right, and, he when certain people come over, there are a group of people, I know this has gotta be true for you and all of your listeners. You've got some in your family, some of your friends who they are just in love with, like,
Yep.
I don't know if it's the scent of the person they're used to, and then there are some people they're kinda like, "Eh,"
Meh.
very meh, like,
Yep.
and so,
I just
yeah, I've got a handful of friends that he just goes bananas, and some that they're just kind of, "Yeah, take it or leave it," but
yeah,
he's
and
so
it's
happy and friendly.
and it's I there's no other dog that I know. Obviously, I grew up with hunting dogs, so they sort of didn't spend a lot of time with them, getting to know them as much as I've gotten to know my pugs, but a pug's face would have to be the most expressive dog face I've ever seen.
Oh
Like,
my goodness.
you know when you're in the shit. Like, that stink eye, whew, like, it's just there's there's no two ways about it. They know that their face can say 1,000 things in a split
Mhm.
second, and you just like I think if you're oblivious to it, you shouldn't have a pug. Really, you should not be a pug owner if you don't
There's also certain
understand.
things your pug, when he's, quote, "busy doing," he doesn't really need you bothering him, and for PD, that's his bully stick. If he I don't know if your dogs so he loves bully sticks, and I have to kinda limit it because he would, chew all day long,
Mm.
but sometimes in the evening, if we're just, sitting around and watching a movie or something, and he'll be with his bully stick, and I go just to get his attention because he's so cute, I want him to look at me, and I'll say, "Hey, Petey," and he will, like, stop chewing and, like, turn his head toward you like, "What,
What?
mother?" With, like, 2 syllables, "Mother." And that's the only time. Or the dog never growls, never is mean, but if you try to take his bully stick and he's not ready, it's the only time he'll give a little growl, like, "Don't take it."
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree with you on that one.
Certain things.
Don't take it. Like, you can just like, there are times when I'll be doing something and I'll look over and they're looking at you, and I've said it to Andrew before, I'm like, "If their paw come up to their eyes and did the 'I'm watching you' thing, I would not be surprised because it's just like, 'I'm watching you, mum. Don't you dare shortchange me for dinner.'" Like,
Yeah, Petey's, vet has him Petey's not a heavy dog, and, it's hard, all of us with our
mm,
pugs so easily get too big, and it's very hard to resist, and he does get his too many cookies and stuff, but he's really stays lean, and I don't know if my or his vet was psychic or what, but when he was 8 weeks and he had his first check, little dog, and Dr. Bush, who you met in book 1,
yes?
she looked at him and she said, "Mm, nope, he's not gonna be a big pug. I think he'll be 14.6." He weighs 14.6. Like,
Wow.
I had him weighed, he got his flu shots last week, I don't know if you have to do if that's a thing there, and he weighed I thought he was skinny because we've done doing so much walking, but I guess I've given him
Mm,
enough treats that he stayed even,
yeah.
and he weighed 14.7, 14.8, and he
Oof.
in the winter, like his very, quote, "fattest," he'll get
Yeah.
to 15.2, and then they want him back a little bit. But most pugs can get up to, like, 16, 18,
Oh, absolutely.
easily. But I just how did she know when he was 8 weeks old? He'll be 14.6, that's almost always what he is.
That's held spot on. I have to admit, because like Rosie is what I refer to as a petite pug. So she's quite tiny. She's
Yes.
smaller than the average pug. Whereas
Yeah.
Kenji is next to her. Kenji looks really tall, but Kenji is actually the right size, like
Yeah.
from a height perspective. And it's just incredible that the fact that because obviously we were talking before about the fact that our first collection, hopefully, fingers crossed, will be out at Christmas time. Doing all the research to design the clothing specifically for the pug body at the various sizes has actually been quite interesting. We figured out sort of what the base average size is for most of the pug types, because you've got the petite pug, Rosie. She's technically a 50 centimeter chest, but she fits into a size 45 centimeter t-shirt. And I think it's because she has this little petite svelte body, even though technically she should be wearing a 50 centimeter
Oh,
t-shirt.
yeah.
Kenji has a 50 centimeter chest. But as I said, when you put them next to each other, he's taller than she is, but it's just the shape of their body is that the t-shirt fits quite differently for both of them. And for her, a 45 actually fits better for her little petite body. It's incredible. But then we get up to like the 65 centimeter chested pug, which is more the barrel shape. Like, some pugs just don't slim down at the waistline. So they're just that one It's as I said, it's like a little pork
Yeah,
barrel. Fat Dog was a little pork barrel with 4 legs. That was
right.
just him, and it's just
Yeah,
it
Petey has a real he has a barrel chest and then
yeah,
not for him, and then a very slender waist, yeah.
yeah, it's
But,
just
I
incredible.
think I think it's genius that you are creating dogs for the pug's body. I'll give you Petey. You'll see it. I know you
Love,
said that
hates
you were going to
costumes.
look at his videos. He has a lot of videos on Instagram, at PD the Pug, everybody,
Mhm.
and one of them is set to Madonna's Vogue, and it's a look at his closet. He has, 100, we have him in costume, and he
Yep,
doesn't like it, but he looks adorable. Anyway, so when we're getting him clothes, you look at him and you see that waist and you go, I made the mistake some time ago. I would order smalls because he would
yep,
think he's no, because of the barrel
yep,
body, he has to have a medium, occasionally a large, but very rarely because he's a slender pug. But one of the things when I was first acquainted with you, a couple months ago, and we had started, chatting and getting to know one another on email, and then I went to paw parties, and I thought, "This is you're the only site I've found that is
yep,
specifically for pugs." Here, there's a lot of places you can go to Amazon, but I mean, you
mm,
like Chewy, which I had mentioned off the interview, is a place to order, food and whatever. They're associated with a store here called Petco, and we order some of his costumes and his clothes from there, but it's always a mystery, am I getting the small or the medium? And now
yep,
I always just default to medium because we've had too many. We're even Velcroing to get it around his barrel. He could
yep,
get it the bottom one around his tummy.
yep,
We've kind of faked it if it's too small. You can shoot at an angle that you
yeah.
can't tell that the top Velcro is not done, you know?
No, similar. It's just it's lit because I've dressed my pugs. Oh, so Fat Dog had a great wardrobe. My ex-husband complained that his wardrobe was better than his, and I said, "That's your problem." He had a wine shirt, leather jacket, denim jacket, a dry as a bone, like
Oh, I told you, before, I myself, while he's the author, I work in TV news and video production and stuff, and my joke is, I used to spend all my money, I'd live on, I don't know if you have Nordstrom there, but it's
we
a
have
nice
equivalent of
department
it,
store.
yes.
My joke is I used to spend all my money at Nordstrom.com, now I spend all my money at Chewy.com, and when you see that video of the Vogue closet, yeah, he has better clothes than me now. And
Oh,
it's funny, also, in my profession, before I still have to, but before PD, it's, "Oh, I'm dressed so," you're turned out and you're dressed. No, I wear dog walking clothes, have
uh-huh.
my dog mom cap, or something. It's like, "Apparently, what happened? We hardly knew ye."
No,
So
no, completely agree. I do look at my wardrobe and go, "What happened?" I have more sets of sneakers than I
Yes,
do
right.
leather shoes these days.
I used to have I still have a million, high shoes, but now it's all about cute tennis shoes. I'm just, "Oh, here's another pair I can walk
Yeah.
him in."
Absolutely. Or at least I have to when we first adopted Winston and Charles, I had these great Kenneth Cole stilettos that went with a particular cocktail dress that I owned. And I had to go to a function, so pull out the cocktail dress, my go-to, went to pull out the matching
Oh, yeah.
shoes, and that was when I discovered that our brand new adopted pugs of 2 years old had, decided that the stilettos were much better as chew toys than they were, and they had chewed the leather off the stiletto so much that
Oh my
I
goodness.
couldn't even get away with, like, wearing them and, like, a shoe like, even, like luckily the actual stiletto bit was black, so I thought, "Oh, can I, like, just get, like, a magic marker out
Magic market. Yeah.
or get some electrical tape, like, electrical tape," and kind of like, no, couldn't even do that. It was so bad. And they see when you hold up something that has just been mauled, and then they scarp it, and I'm like, "What the hell do I do
And
now?"
they look at you, "I didn't do it. I
No, no,
didn't do it."
no, it wasn't and I know that, like, I don't know, I mean, I have to yes, I've read the books, and I assume that most of it is based on fact, and we will get to that in a minute. But in my experience, black pugs are naughtier than fawn pugs. So I knew that it was Winston, not Charles.
Oh, I will given PD, I'll take your word for it. I'll take
Terrible. So we were talking, you did mention about PD's personality and about how he's bubbly and all that sort of stuff, but and talk about his naughty traits. They are in the book, or in the books, I should say, but probably what's the naughty trait that you love the most?
I think I don't know if naughty is quite the word. I think that
Mischievous.
yeah, he really I think he actually believes, and maybe it's true, it's scary, that he really is in charge. This is his home that yeah, and you saw in book 1 that I have the pleasure of living in with him. He doesn't live with me, I
Mhm.
live with him. When we're out and about, he's leading the walks, um I'm trying to think of anything funny that I can that he has really funny little traits, like, we took a long walk on Sunday, and we're just walking along, and this very loud sports car with a very loud muffler went
Mm.
blowing by us and got very right when it went by us, it blew out the loudest noise, and like a cartoon, I so wished I had videoed it.
Always the
Petey
way.
flew up in the air, like, airborne into the lawn next to us, like, when you've been in the military, it's like,
Yep.
"Dive!" It's just it was you know, he's just so funny, and I don't know if your dogs I'm sure many of your listeners' dogs spin and chase their tails. I've
Yes.
many videos of him, and what's funny is he doesn't only chase it, he'll get it in his mouth, and he'll kinda just stand there sucking on it like, "Now what?" And, "What and now what am I gonna do with this?" And then he'll just spin in circles with it in its mouth or in his mouth, so
I always like it when they accidentally bite themselves and then they look shocked, like,
yes. "What happened?"
just, what who did that? Who did that?" And you
What's
just
what we have some columns in the house in a couple of the rooms. You can your people can't see it, but you're
yeah.
as we were talking, and it's not funny, but it's funny. Sometimes he's just not paying attention, and he'll just be, like, racing around the house, and you hear this smack.
Oh,
But
yes.
he's never hurts himself. He just looks confused for a minute, and then he just goes back to what he was
Like
doing. I will tell him I wasn't thinking hard enough for a good answer. I was a little frozen there on the mischievous. I did
d
think of one thing that is he can't learn. He cannot learn. Training. So he was trained, you read in the book, Miss
Yep.
Sophia. And they say pugs are a little stubborn to train. Petey is very good at sit, especially at food
Oh,
motivation sit.
yes.
He will down, he will shake, but he will not come, which in traffic makes me really hold to the leash. So I might do
Mm.
some refresher. But anyway, as far as training, he knows not to potty in the house. He knows the rules. No, in our dining room, we have hardwood floors, and the rug in the
God.
dining room is dark green, it's forest green, and the joke in this house, you'll find a few days later a nice hard little pile of poop in
Yep.
the green and my friend, she's always, "Because it's grass to him. It's not his fault, mommy. You put grass in the house. I just went to the grass." So that is one of his worst indoor traits is he at least he doesn't do it. We have one in the living room, we have a white rug, and I'm very thankful that he doesn't,
Oh,
uh,
absolutely.
poop in there. So, yeah, but the green carpet is to him, it's just a nice
Too
yard.
technical.
It's his indoor yard.
I have to admit, sort of, we've been fairly lucky. I had to toilet train Winston and Charles, so they were 2 because they'd been locked in a courtyard for their first 2 years. So when they come to live with us, I spent the first 6 months. Andrew was still in the Navy. I'd retired by then. He was at sea, so I was doing, like you, doing all of the toilet training all by
Yes,
myself. It was awful. I had forgotten how awful it is.
yeah, you get amnesia. That's why
Oh,
getting
yeah.
another baby, I'm kinda like, "Eh, I want to, but
Maybe you
another"
need to
yeah,
rescue one that's already been toilet
right,
trained.
right.
But it was quite funny, like, once they got it, it took 6 months, but once it was almost like a door opened in their brains, and then the knowledge just flooded through one day, and then it was great. But of course, what would happen is that the only way, and I don't, it was always Winston.
Mhm.
Um, if he was pissed off about something, whatever it would have been the tiniest of slights. But if he was pissed off about something, he would poop in the passageway to the front door.
Oh,
And he would do it without anyone noticing. So he was like, Andrew used to call him a stealth pooper.
the stealth dog.
But then what would happen is like, especially Andrew, for some reason, I would see it before I would actually step through the front door because he would position his poop in such a way that if you weren't paying attention when you opened the front door, you would step in it. Like it was almost a perfect 75 centimeters. So a military
That
step
is
is
a message,
75
Mom.
centimeters. And
That's a
so he
message.
just, yeah, he'd figured out that 75 centimeters from the front doorstep was exactly where his poop needed
You
to
know,
be for
Petey, even
maximum
as a
effect.
little bitty baby, I think he already knew this was his house. I'll tell you one thing, trying to train him, you know, pee pads, right? The
Yes.
little, okay, so when you read the books, get pee pads and line the floors. And
Mhm.
Petey had no interest in peeing on a he
Yep.
would look at it like, you know, "You and what army are gonna make me go on that pee pad?" And he would there could be Donna, there could be 10 pee pads, and he would find the one little opening space and right there,
Yep.
little poop, little pee, but not on the pee pad. No, 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 no.
It takes a unique kind of intelligence to do it though. That's what you have
The
to
worst part
appreciate.
was someone thought they were being generous, and they were. Somebody gave me, like, "Here, welcome, Petey." They must have given me 150 pee pads.
Oh,
We had
wow.
boxes of and he was just I ended up just donating them. He was
Yeah.
having nothing. I brought him to one of the daycare centers for dogs. "Here you go. Here's some pee pads." Yeah.
There's nothing worse than buying something that you think that they will absolutely
Oh, yeah.
love, only to have them give that look of, "Meh,
Yeah.
meh."
Especially when you buy 150 of
Yeah.
them. Right. Maybe more. It might have been a couple hundred. We had boxes.
Because you think like diapers, you're gonna need them for the
Yes.
first. What you really I have to admit, like a few friends who've rung me and said, "Look, you know, I wanna get a dog," not specifically a pug, but and I just say, "Okay, these are the cleaning products that you will now need to own in bulk because you think I'm lying, but
Right.
this is how it's gonna be. Paper towel,
Nature's
sanitizer,
miracle is
yes,
right here. Yes.
puppy carpet sand."
Yes. Right.
I really need to have shares in carpet sand for puppy poop and piddle.
Do you have Nature's Miracle? Do you have that? So
No.
Nature's Miracle, you have whatever another brand, it's the same
Yeah.
thing up here. So it's a spray, and after the dog has pooped on, let's say, your green carpet thinking it's
Yeah.
grass. Well, after you clean it up, and especially pee, this works best with urine. After you've cleaned it, you spray that on there, and apparently if you don't, after you've sprayed that on there, the dog can no longer smell the
The
old scent
ammonia,
of the
yes.
urine, because if he can smell it the urine again, he'll go back to the same spot. Generally, they'll
Yeah.
mark over another dog's scent, but they'll also pee on, you know, where they are used
Yeah.
to, you know, that leg of that chair or, you know.
Yeah, we call it puppy sand. I think it's called Zorbit, but it's same thing. It's
Probably the
designed for
same thing.
carpet, but you can use it on because 'cause we've got hardwood floors. You can use on the floor, and the idea is it soaks up any residual that you haven't been able to get, and it's just a crystal, and it all goes chunky as it's soaked everything up.
Oh,
And same thing again, it removes the scent because it's not too bad when you've got your own dogs, but then because as I was saying before, we foster rescues. If you have a high turnover, it sort of gets to the point where I worry that my house is going to start smelling like a puppy toilet. So, as I said, lots of cleaning products.
right.
So,
Yes.
anyway, we should stop talking about cleaning products and get on to the most important thing. What inspired Petey's writing career? I mean, it's 4 books, so it's not a passing fancy. It's been 4 books.
Well, he knew that Mommy was a journalist, and he does love Mommy, so he thought he would try his hand at it, and, you know, what's interesting is, as you and your many listeners know, the flat face of the pug makes it easier than a snouted dog for a dog to say, "Get up on the MacBook," and actually peck out an entire novel. And, I didn't write it, of course, Petey did, as you can see on the
Yes.
books, by Petey the Pug with help from Mommy Marilee. So I might have edited a little, but, he's a genius dog, as all pugs are.
Yes.
And yeah, that flat face, though, definitely helps to bang the keys out. So, yeah.
So, go through the 4 titles. So
I
that'll
thank you. So, Petey's first book, his 4th book just came out. Well, by the time we're taping this in late summer, late August. I know it doesn't come out then, but this book came out in late June, and it was his 4th book in less than 3 years. His first book came
very
out
busy.
in November of 21, and I actually well, sorry, little
So
oopsie there, as PD would say. PD wrote it during COVID and during 2020, and which was a very good COVID thing to do.
distraction.
Uh,
Yes.
and exactly. So the first book is called Get Me Out of Here, The Reflections of Petey, the Put Upon
Mhm.
Pug. All 4 of his books are about a misguided but well-meaning little pug who starts off every book thinking he knows best, and by the end of the book gets his comeuppance with a lot of lessons of love and laughter and hilarity along the way, and pretty much every story, he knows everything and then just muffs everything up, and by the end, realizes I don't wanna ruin them because I hope
No.
a couple of your people will wanna be curious. But Get Me Out of Here is about a little dog who knows that out there is where it's at, and if he could just get out of this house and get out in society and kinda do his own thing, he'd be happier,
Mhm.
and doesn't quite realize the great life he has at home with mommy, and so you'd have to read the book to see if he actually does get out, but he certainly fantasizes about how great it's gonna be outside. And book 2, I think of all the books, book 2 has the best title. When Petey's he just had his 35th book signing at in this area, the big dog stores with, all of the supplies and the toys and all that. They're called
Mhm.
PetSmart. There's also Petco, there's Loyal Companion, but PetSmart's very large, and we have most of his book signings there. He's had a lot of outdoor events and other things that he's been invited to, but at PetSmart last Saturday, he had his 35th signing, and, eh, anyway, people are always loving the title of book 2, and it's called "No, You Sit." Petey the Pug's Manual for How to Train Your Human, and even the
Which is
cover of
so
the
true.
book the cover of the book has Petey at the top of all these pillows holding a little treat up for mommy who's begging, and in that, Petey decides that the dogs should train the humans, not the humans training the dogs, and it would be a better world if they would just teach us how we should act, which is like a dog. So they try to, in every area, from grooming to do away with grooming, to the dog park,
Yes.
to walks, to daycare, to every area of life, they retrain how things should be, and by the end, you gotta figure out if maybe dogs and humans should all get along and just kinda see what happens there. Book 3 is called Working Like a Dog,
Mm.
Petey the Pug in Corporate America, and in this book, Petey decides that if he just had his own career, he could make his own money and wouldn't have to get his toys and treats from this chick, and not be dependent on mommy anymore. So over the book, there's 7 chapters, not including the intro and the epilogue. And he gets 7 jobs in 7 days, and within the first 4 hours of each, blows them all spectacularly, is fired on his face, and has to start all over with a new job the next day. And it's everything from he's a detective's assistant, he's a clown at a children's party, works for a assistant in a landscaping, and doesn't quite understand the whole fertilizing, watering, and digging
Oh,
part
digging,
of
yes.
imagine why he might have gotten fired. He gets a job as a what's called here a dog who travels with the police is called a canine, a
Yes.
K-9. I don't know if that's out there. He gets a job trying to be a canine. I don't know if he actually ends up qualifying. He might get fired first. He gets a job as a gym assistant and about 3 or 4 other jobs. And then in book 4, which just came out in June, that one is called A Star Is Born, PD the Pug on the Silver Screen, and in that book, PD gets a tiny bit role, not even a cameo, a teeny role in a Chewy Productions film, but of course, he thinks he's the movie star and mayhem ensues, one thing after the another, because
Understandably.
he thinks he's the movie star of the production, and yeah, things go a bit awry, as we might say. I don't think he gets his, Golden Globe or Oscar just quite yet.
Not yet. Not
You
yet.
never
We
know,
can all
though.
dream. We can all dream.
So those are
No.
the 4 books, and yeah, it's been quite a ride. It's been a lot of fun. It's, my biggest thrill because he's no the most famous pug. Everyone, "Oh, Doug the pug," and, "Oh,
Yes.
maybe Petey one day." I said, "I don't know about that." A girl can dream, a girl can dream. But my as silly as this is going to sound, Petey and I were taking a walk about a month ago, and a woman came up to me and she said, I mean, I'm a nobody. She points at the dog and she goes, "Is that Petey the pug?" And I said, "Why, yes." And she goes, "We met you at Dogfest." It was some outdoor
Oh,
thing, and I
no.
thought, "Oh my, how did she recognize me?" But
Oh, how nice for PD. He must have
yes.
felt very, very famous.
He
He's one
tugged on the
one more
leash.
port towards
Let
his
me be in the spotlight. Move, you know.
I love it. I mean, I enjoyed reading all 4 books. I mean, obviously, I crammed them, so I read all 4 in a row, whereas people would normally read one as they each coming out. But the one thing I will say is you can read an individual book and not worry that you can read it individually and not need to have read the previous ones. So if anyone wanted to, they could read the latest one first and then go back from there, even though you do reference the other books in each book. But I never felt like I could have just picked up book 4 and gone, oh, I really need to read the other ones to understand what's going on in this one, which was great. In the earlier books, because we were talking about it before, like the first book has some great poetry. PD is a wonderful poet. Uh, his what was it? Ode to Poop? Was that what I'm trying to? I think that
Mhm.
was one. So yes, I did. I did enjoy that one in particular. I was reading it out to Andrew, giggling to myself as I was reading it.
The
Um,
government says reuse it. Yeah.
yeah. And the one of the other things I really liked, especially about the earlier books, was the little tidbits you had about like this is information about pugs. So this is fact.
Yeah.
So if people who read it aren't pug owners or know a lot about pugs, they do get an education around what it is to be a pug owner. So especially if there are children out there that read these books, if they do decide one day that they want a pug of their own, at least they've had a fun way of learning about pugs and their personalities. And then hopefully when they do get their pug, they'll be a lot better prepared for the PD style behavior that they may potentially have to deal with.
Yes, exactly.
Um, but I really enjoyed A Star Is Born. As I was saying before, I think A Star Is Born is my favourite. I really did enjoy the whole lot. But one of my questions is throughout all the books, there are characters that flow all the way through, which is great, both human and dog. And but PD talks about the secret fawn girl pug crush. I had to write that down, so I made sure that I read it the right way. So my first question is are we ever going to meet said secret fawn girl pug crush? Has PD met her and he just alludes to her in the books? Or has
He
he
has
been too
never met
chickeny?
her. He's, as sometimes not arrogant as in charge and showy and funny as PD is, he's really a little shy in the boy-girl department, I think. He sees her, he thinks of her, he fantasizes that she will be his mate one day, but when he really gets the chance, he chickens out. But, book 5 is coming, and not too long, not
Uh,
too long. He might meet her, we don't know.
I am dying to know because as I put in one of my emails, Rosie's wondering if it's actually her because she is a supermodel. So she has wondered if he saw her online as they were
Well, there's a
swapping
chance that right
Instagram.
now the reason Petey is laying in his bed next to me
Scary.
looking especially googly-eyed is just before this recording, we did hold up our dogs, and
Yes.
he did meet her, and he saw that face, and he thought and then I
And
think he
she
passed
she
out.
is an older lady, so, there is the
Yeah.
of an older girl.
But I'm sure she at least reminded him of his faraway
His little
fantasy.
it's just it is so cute, and one of the other his arch nemesis, Ralph, I
Yes.
have to admit, because you don't actually have it in the books, I did wonder, is Ralph another pug, or is he one of
No.
those other breeds?
He's another
He's
breed.
another
It's
breed,
Ralph
right?
the dog. That's why
The
he's
dog,
not
I
Ralph
just
the pug. You see, he's always Ralph the dog. Capital D, Ralph the dog.
Yes.
Yes.
Arch nemesis. We won't give him any more airtime
One of
because
my
PD would
favorites
be
is
mo
the remember since you've read them all, the fight they get in the landscaping chapter of Working Like a
Yeah.
Dog,
I
and they're
did
both picked up, yes.
I did in A Star Is Born, I do enjoy I don't wanna give it away, but what Ralph's mum does and they get caught doing
Yes.
said thing, I did think to myself, "Ha!" The nemesis has been spoiled
That's not
again,
so
so
fast.
that's all I'm going to say. People need to read the book so they can enjoy that Ralph did not get, or Ralph's mummy did not get what she was hoping for.
You've, proved the fact that some people ask me, especially at his signings, whether it's an adult or sometimes parents will bring their 'cause, obviously, PD's always at the signings, they ain't there to meet me, and they'll ask, "Well, what age group is this for?" And we always say the books are for about it could be a little younger than this, but I always say 8 to grandpa because
Yeah.
some people think some of the illustrations and etcetera, and you might make the assumption that this is more a children's book, and children love them. But I am telling you, I get more great, positive, laughing out loud comments from adults, and I think it's because PD not me. But Petey does so much reference and research into little tidbits throughout, like in your favorite A Star Is Born.
Mm.
We have all kinds of movie references. I'm sure a lot of us from when we were real young are as kids are that movie, The Untouchables with, Kevin Costner and I just blanked on
Sean
Sean,
Connery.
Sean Connery. I'm sorry, everyone. And and there's a chapter called "Bringing a Petey to a Gunfight," and it's, references that and I tell the story of that, so,
Yes.
but little stuff like that, so there's and even if you're a little kid who doesn't know it, we explain it, so
Mm.
everybody kinda learns something, and it's funny, but it's really all ages, and that's
Yes.
kinda one thing I really like about the books is I hear from all age groups of how much people like it.
No,
And it's
I
appropriate for all ages. There's nothing, untoward or whatever the
yes.
phrase would be.
Yes. No, I was saying before, I was, thinking to myself, I'm going to have to buy them for my godchildren. They're at the age where they can read by
Yes.
themselves, but, they do enjoy still making Uncle Andrew. For some reason, Auntie Donna doesn't do very good voices. So and I do tend to, like, say to them, "Uncle Andrew loves reading books to you." So that's his job. So
Wonderful. And it's a male pug, so Andrew
yes.
will do just right, just right.
PD, yes, the PD voice will be perfect. Absolutely. So one of the things that's definitely in the first book, and I think it gets referred to in books 2 and 3, is about PD's under the stairs house and his kitchen bench nook. So you've shown them to me, but I do want you to talk people through it because I think especially the kitchen bench nook, if I
It's
remodel my kitchen, that's definitely what I'm gonna do.
well, when we redid our kitchen, golly, it was let's see, I got him in 2018, and it was during COVID because I do remember the workers, and I kept saying, "You can or can't. None of it. You don't have COVID. I don't have COVID." But everybody's. I just
Yeah.
remember it was COVID because they were wearing the mask.
Yeah.
But we had the kitchen remodeled and got a much larger kitchen island, and I thought, I designed a good idea or not, good, in my head. So in the front, we have, like, 2 cuddle chairs where you can watch TV. There's, like, a little nook, cut out in the
Mm.
front. The other side is the sink and the dishwasher, and then on the far side by the sliding glass door, I had them cut into the island, a little dog playpen, and has a little opening, like, I don't wanna use the word cage, like the front of a crate,
Yes.
and a little swinging door, and he goes in there sometimes, there's some toys in there, but mostly he's in his little bed, but it's very cute, you saw it, I brought
Yeah,
the
it was
camera
fantastic. I thought to
and
myself,
it's so
"Wow,
unique. Yeah, I think if we sell the house, I hope someone who, has a dog or
has a
ca
puppy
well, yeah,
22."
I don't think a cat's gonna wanna be in there, that wouldn't go that well. And then the home under the stairs is a funny story. So again, this is a townhouse, so the stairwell, you know how, like, the down slope of the stairs, so the wall
Mm.
facing the dining room, I had the handyman so there's a door cut into that and a street sign over it that says Pug Lover Place.
Yep.
And it's large. I brought you inside it. I put the MacBook
Mm.
in there and let you see inside, and it's tiled above where if he goes in there, he mostly sleeps in his little bed in the kitchen, but, if, like, a cleaning crew is here, someone's here, so he has to
Yep.
go in there. I thought I would put a door over it and he could just play in there, but he mostly just goes in his crate when he's in there. But it's a good size. I would say
Yes.
it's 4 feet across, 2 feet wide, and so imagine a stairwell, the part that slopes would be where the head would be. So there's a picture of a black pug that says, "I pug and love you." And then in the wide wall, there's 3 pug silhouettes, pictures, and then what you laughed at, of course, the funniest on the other wall is, of course, dogs playing poker,
Of course.
um,
Well,
the picture
there's
of
still
that, and then there's
plenty of
a little
spaces for all of
yeah,
his writing awards as well.
and a little toy bin, a little thing in there. Yes, exactly, exactly. And
Hey, he's the
space
Pug
for his
Harry Potter.
awards. Yeah, yeah, there you go.
But no, it was great. I just sort of thought, "Oh, that is just." I don't have stairs in my house, but I just there to talking
Well,
about the
just
fact
tell
that we
Andrew
could
you just wanna cut into
yes,
the
I
wall
need to
some more,
yeah,
see
just
how it
sort that out
goes.
for me.
"Honey, we're just gonna cut a hole in the wall over here."
Take out the air conditioning vent. Who needs that? That's fine.
We don't need that. Oh, your
But I did
husband's
love
gonna
it
come
because
home and you're
I
gonna
know
go, "Because of Marilee, we're getting a new kitchen. Save up, hun. We need a new island."
well, I literally just painted my kitchen over the last 2 weeks, so I think he just look at
You
me and say, "Really?"
you might say, "Hold on."
But no, it's great. He's got these 2 little spaces, like, they're like his own little den. I love it. Like, we've got their beds, and then we have their travel crate, which is a soft side one, and it's so funny because the travel crate's always there if they wanna duck into it. But in reality, like, I have not remodeled my house just for my pug, and I just think that's incredible. Like, I've had Espresso and Martini's mum, they had to move house because Espresso has IVDD and he's not allowed to use stairs. So instead of restricting him from using the second floor of the house, they literally decided that the best thing that they could do for him was actually to move house. So you are the second person that I've spoken to in as many months that has said to me, "I have now changed my house to suit my
Yes.
pug."
Yeah, and
not.
I don't know if
I
I'm
am
you called it
around.
incredible. I don't know if I'm incredible or ill. I don't know. You know, it's funny because we live in a nice townhome, but there's not really much of a yard. Luckily, I'm athletic enough that I love to walk him, so
Yeah.
I can function fine. But I have found myself in recent many months looking at homes, and it's really not about, we can deal with whatever house. How big is the yard for Petey? And, I'm just like, and I don't wanna just, toss him in a backyard and let him find his way. I like to play with him and walk him, so we don't really need it, but it is funny. You do put your life around the pug, and drill holes in your house and in your kitchen and.
And put up with snot on the walls and
Right,
and paw prints and whatever
and
else.
poop on the grass rug.
Yes.
Exactly.
So we were before we actually hit record, one of the other things we talked about was your recent collaboration with the Rainbow Bridge Hospice.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
so can you quickly talk about that? Because I'm sure
Sure.
people would be interested.
I've always wanted to have PD partner with a worthwhile group, and I had been researching, and there's so many worthwhile shelters, and there's or not, sorry, I said that wrong. There are so many worthwhile adoption and rescue places, and then I discovered there are actual animal hospices, and I found one. N North Carolina is a state right by not far from where I am. I couldn't find the exact one I wanted locally, and this wonderful woman, the name of it is Rainbow Bridge Hospice Rescue, and they rescue dogs from shelters, especially high kill centers. What happens is when the dogs that get very serious physical challenges that become very lame and ill, and some old people will just discard them. They don't want to deal with it anymore. They just don't want, and perhaps they think they're giving it to a shelter and it's going to be adopted out. Well, it's not going to be adopted out because the
Mm,
person who goes there with their child, the kid's going to go, I want that cute little da da da. I don't want the old
the
one
old
with the
one.
hip, the one with the hip dysplasia who's, looks, so those dogs end up getting euthanized, and what Terry ended up what she actually started Rainbow Bridge. She had gone through a kind of depressing challenge in her own life, and she loved animals, and she loved dogs, and she wanted to do something really positive, and this idea came to her to rescue these dogs that were going to be euthanized, and the idea behind Rainbow Bridge Hospice Rescue is they rescue these dogs, and then they let them spend their final months or years in a home, and just in her headquarters, she's caring for 30 right now,
Mm,
and they do place dogs, and they very seriously vet the homes where they're going to go. They don't just give them
mm,
to anyone. But it's beautiful, and let the dogs die in dignity, die,
mm.
and Rainbow Bridge provides all of their medicine, all their food, they pay for everything. So
Wow.
I got hold of her, and we had many, many discussions to make sure we were a great fit, and we really hit it off, really were. So Petey is giving a portion of his book sales to help Rainbow Bridge, and it was exciting since this is very within just the last month or so that we
Mm.
started. So we had a wonderful 8 by 10 table sign. It's like an aluminum backed. Our printer made a beautiful sign with their logo and telling about our partnership that's on his big table at his signings. And of course, we've talked about them on social media, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful. People are already giving, and it's just a
Oh,
great
that's
thing. And
it
I like that
is.
he is aligned with that.
No, it's wonderful. And so we're talking about sales. So tell us where we can actually find all 4 books.
Thank you. So Petey's website is, and let me just tell your listeners, it's a lot of people think it's short for Peter. It's actually a P and a D with no period. So his website is the Pug Productions.com, PD the Pug Productions.com. We don't sell on his site anymore. His publisher is Dart Frog Books, and Gordon, our wonderful Gordon McClellan, our wonderful publisher, that silly algorithm on Amazon, so they like it better from there. So it'll direct you. If you go to Petey the Pug and say, "Buy my book," it'll take you to Amazon. So another much maybe quicker and easier way, if you go to Amazon, just in their search bar, just put Petey the Pug books, and that'll take
Yep.
you to the page with all
I
4
think is
books.
what I did. So yeah.
Yes. Yes, Petey the Pug books. Yeah, so hopefully a couple of your folks will be
Well,
curious about it.
yes, and we'll enjoy them
Or
as much
Rainbow
as
Bridge,
I
either
did.
one. What's
Yes,
that? Yes.
they enjoyed as much as I did. Now, and I will put all the details into the podcast notes as always, so it's a bit
Thank you.
easier for everyone to just click on the link and then go straight to the website. So, where else can everyone find Petey? Since obviously our Australian and UK listeners
Yes.
won't be able to
Yes.
find him in
Well, I
person.
hope that your many audience members will follow him on social media and whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, it's at Petey the Pug, and that's best way to follow him. Wonderful pictures. Be sure to look at that Vogue closet in the reels,
Yes.
and you'll see that he has better clothes than mommy could ever hope to,
Oh,
and
yeah.
also all her wardrobe money. And he's his books are available at Ingram Spark and Draft Digital and Barnes& and Noble, but most people just
Yeah.
Amazon owns us.
Yes.
It's just my joke is it's Amazon, Starbucks, and Apple. That's pretty much all of the
Alive.
companies that there are.
Marilee and Petey, who is currently resting. He's just so tired from all the talking, all that work, and evidently working on his 5th book.
Yes, he is.
Oh, very
Working
good. I
hard.
can't wait to hear. Can't wait to read the next one when it comes out. And as I said, hoping that we get more information on Secret Fawn Girl Pug Crush.
I think you can expect more info.
Very good.
He'll still be in love for sure.
That's always good. So thank you so much for both of you for coming on to the podcast. It's been great getting to know you and also the books. And as I said, we'll put everything into the show notes so people can find you themselves individually and keep up with the conversation.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm very grateful for your having me on. Very fun to get to know you and your adorable dogs.
No, thank you. And hopefully we'll get you back on when book 5 comes out.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you so much.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now, I don't know about you, but I can't wait to read book 5 of PD's adventures and hopefully meet PD's secret fawn girl pug crush, which Rosie is privately convinced will be her. But I'm privately not so sure, but we'll keep that between you and me for now. I promise I will break it to her gently when the time comes. These books can be enjoyed by children and adult children alike, and I know that after having met PD today that you want to learn more about him, which you can do in his books. So tell us what you loved about the episode, and if you have already read the books, over in our Facebook group, Living the Pug Life. And if you liked the episode or you think someone else might enjoy it, please share it and leave a review with your favourite podcast host so more Pug-Pawrents can find us and join in with the fun. It only takes a couple of seconds to give us a 5-star review, and it goes a long way to helping other Pug-Pawrents find us. So until next time, thank you for joining us. Have a pawsome week, and humans, be generous with the snackies.